Alexei, welcome back to Australia. It's an interesting, I think, time for us because I've known you for 10 years. I've worked with you intimately at ABT, and now you're bringing Harlequinade to the company in a role that, one of the roles that we worked on intimately as well, Pierrot. But I think it's great for me to see you here with the dancers. You know, I've worked with the dancers for almost a year now, and to see someone that I've known from my dancing career come in and work with these dancers that I know so well, it's really great. So what are your first impressions?
I've always admired this company. It's my third time, and yeah, everything is just so positive. Beautiful studios, very light, great team, you know, welcoming, smiling, committed dancers. It was a very good school.
Yeah.
And they have something specific about them. You can say it's Australian school. It's Australian.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love the commitment here.
Yeah.
I sense that as well. Like there's, watching you rehearse Harlequinade with the dancers, I notice they're really going for this style. And we'll speak more about the style in a little bit, but I really feel this kind of commitment from the dancers.
Yeah, from the very first day, because it is, as you know, it is different. Stylistically, it's different, it's challenging. And I don't think it's easy to embrace from the, from the first day. You need to sort of dive into it and understand its values of the style of this ballet.
Yeah.
But no hesitation from the dancers. Now they're just eager to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is great. So yeah, it is always very exciting to see another company take on something that existed only with like one interpretation.
And that interpretation being American Ballet
ABTs,
Theatre. Yeah.
Well, maybe I should start with saying that this ballet was popular. It was part of Imperial Russian repertory of both Mariinsky and the Bolshoi in different versions. And it was last performed in its original shape at the end of 1920s. And then it sort of existed in different versions, Balanchines, and there was a Soviet version also. But this Petipa work was just preserved on paper. So the whole idea was to resurrect something that actually does not exist and to be faithful to the original. Very challenging and exciting idea. It's like ballet archaeology.
Yeah.
I love archaeology.
I know you do.
And I
can see it in your eyes.
I collected all the little pieces, and two main sources were Harvard Theatre Collection in Boston and the St Petersburg Theatre Museum in Russia. So the steps, the designs, everything. And I think it's the first time in my career I've done classics, maybe 7 or 8 productions of different ballets. But it's the first time that we're using the original designs. And I've always thought that Petipa's choreography is enough. You can sort of wrap it in today's materials, so to speak, and design it according to today's tastes. But we've discovered with Harlequinade that it fits like a glove. It's the best possible shape, for these steps.
Yeah. So I wonder what it was like for you to go to Harvard or to go to St. Petersburg and to see, this ballet on paper and then to realize it onto the stage. I mean, I was there in the studio with you, sort of realizing some scenes and filling in some gaps or certain different interpretations of expression. But for you, when you saw this kind of notation, what was the process like?
Well, first of all, apart from the excitement, you see how it was performed during Petipa's times, and you see the names, Krzestinska, Preobrazhenska, Legat, and all of these legendary names. So the notators looked at these people in the studio and put down the steps that they were doing. So it's, in a sense, it's a time machine.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
But on the other hand, it's just a skeleton. It's not. You need to make it work. You need to find the coordination. You need to find the way of acting. You need to give the dancers corrections or suggestions that would awaken their imagination, so they can make it their own. 100 years ago, people, for some reason, were very fond of commedia dell'arte characters. Not so much today. Even though some of, you can see a Joker in the Hollywood movies, or, Pierrot and stuff. Yes, these archetypal characters are still present. But the whole idea of commedia dell'arte being the essence of theater is gone, I think. So, yeah, it's really, really interesting process. It is scientific, and at the same time, it's live theater. So no matter what is written down, if it doesn't work, you need to find a solution.
Yeah, and times have changed. And so what, in your opinion, has changed? Or what liberties did you take to say, well, now it's 2021,
well, yeah,
things are different?
The main idea is that we can't recreate the style. We don't really know what style is. Because when we say Petipa style, we're thinking of the Kirov or the Bolshoi, or how they do it in London. It's 100 years of developments. Or if we look at the old films, some people laugh at it. It looks like a caricature. If you look with today's eyes,
it's
if
true.
you don't try to see what's valuable about their dancing. So, yeah, the main thing is to inspire the dancers, to give them to awaken their understanding that it could be done in many different ways, and they just need to make it their own. With their modern schooling, with their sensibilities of today's people, and the speed that goes like 10 times faster than it did 100 years ago. On the other hand, for me, Harlequinade represents an alternative view on the art of ballet.
In what way?
It's not acrobatic. It creates the whole complete world. It's refined, it's complex, and it's entertaining. It's a high entertainment.
Yeah, that's something that I notice in the studio, and how you're coaching the dancers, and how the dancers are interpreting the entertainment. In that, it's to the audience. It's a conversation to the audience. Everything is very gestural. Everything is very expressive and over the top. And again, what I said at the beginning, I've noticed the dancers really take this on. They're willing to take the plunge. But I'm wondering about that conversation with the audience that's so indicative in commedia dell'arte. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, you can't be an introvert. When you perform commedia dell'arte characters. It's as you said, it's direct communication with the audience. And the origins of that is, of course, that those were street performers, and they need to attract the public who is just passing by. And let them make them stop and watch. So it's overly theatrical. It's larger than life. It's when you hit someone, the other one would fall and roll or do a salto or something. When you laugh, your voice is covering not only this piazza but all the streets around it.
So
if you if you're curious about that, it could be very interesting to find ways to communicate that.
And that's interesting because I can see the curiosity, because although it's so overtly expressive, you can find subtleties in the comedy.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what's so
because
interesting.
you can't, on the other hand, you can't oversell it, and then it's not funny. It's just,
No.
What are they doing? Right. So you need to make the public care for each character. And,
But I'll say that's something that you're very good at, because I remember working on the ballerina role in Bright Stream, and it's when the guy, shows up in a tutu to play a joke on a couple of people, and it's obviously comedy, and I put point shoes on and a dress, and I'm trying to make the audience laugh, but I remember the subtleties that you were showing me, that you were kind of coaching me in, to not oversell it, because when you're a guy in a tutu and point shoes, you at times your instinct is to oversell it, much like in Harlequinade. With the comedy, you want to oversell it.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's those little subtleties in the expressiveness that really connect with the audience.
And also, on the other hand, the technical passages, the variation, very, very
Are very
challenging.
hard.
They're very hard.
I was going to say
And
that
just
as
to
well.
think that the dancers 100 years ago was a much softer point shoes, performed all these hops on points, and it's it's compressed, all the technique. And another thing that I love about Harlequinade, that for the dancers have a chance to use the language that they've learned from when they were 10 years old or even younger. They do it every day, and half of this vocabulary is never used in today's productions, in today's choreography. So this is the only chance when they can fully speak the language.
Like, give me an example.
Well, I don't know, a lot of gargouillades around the jumps, and pirouettes that are not full passé, and extensions that need to be controlled, and one-hand partnering, and all of these little things.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of jumps from one step, and also controlling the landing.
Yeah.
Because the development of classical dance in the 20th century is chasing the big effects.
Yeah, the big tricks.
So big tricks, the big splits, extensions. For some reason, audience love extensions.
Yes, well, there's a whole lineage now of big extensions.
I know. The bigger you lift your leg, you can never find that in Harlequinade.
No, and also it's interesting. I'm hearing you coach it as well, and you have said the steps are quite simplified, so you have to accent them. You have to, even though the passé is here and not here, even though the leg is here and not here, you have to make it special, and you have to emphasize it in a certain way to make it look really authentic. And when that happens, it looks actually very unique, very stylized.
It doesn't look simple.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Even though, like for the group, the steps are really simple. It's basic pas de basques or chasses or whatever. But the way Petipa constructed the whole ballet, combining and balancing the mime scenes, the group dances, pas d'action, where the dance and the action develops, or pure divertissement dances, where it's just the steps. The children, the character artists who can show, you sense the hand of director of the company, not only the choreographer. He presents all layers of the company beautifully, starting from the school.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so interesting about big works, big ballets that have corps de ballet, soloist principles, is the importance of everything for the full picture. We've seen shows where the corps de ballet isn't as inspired as they could be, and the whole picture sort of falls. The principles may be just on fire, but if everyone isn't involved and committed in the same way, it doesn't offer the same effect. And I'm noticing this in Harlequinade, in who you're coaching the entire room. And that's what lifts the picture.
I think when the dancers feel that the success of the project, so to speak, depends on each of them.
Yeah, it's in their hands.
Yeah, and that's what inspires them.
Mm.
And the more they improvise within the structure, the more they sense what the others are doing, the better the whole show becomes.
Yeah, and also for Harlequinade, what's so interesting is you can use your imagination.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's free.
And ballet,
there is structure, but you can do many different things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And ballet sometimes, teaches you to do what you're told. That's how you train. You're coached, you're taught. But I think Harlequinade and other works demand you to use your imagination. And then you see, as we've seen in rehearsals, some people just come alive.
That's true,
they have the most vivid imaginations.
Yeah.
It's amazing to watch. Anyway, Alexei, thank you for coming to Australia.
Thank you for having me.
Always
it's
a
such
pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's great to see, for me, to see you working with the dancers, but to see a work that had its birth with you and I in New York, and then bringing it down to Australia, it's really special. So
yeah, that's unique.
thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.